Superheroes have superpowers. Everybody knows that. What you might not be aware of is that some of them wear jewelry. Well, gems to be more precise. But not just any gems. These are endowed with the power to control time or space, or even the mind. 6 primordial stones that, after they've been gathered into a gauntlet, give their owner a super powerful weapon called the Infinity Gauntlet. A divine hand, so to speak, the kind you wouldn't want a villain to get their hands on. You're listening to Voice of Jewels, a podcast from L'École School of Jewelry Arts, supported by Cleef Arpels, unveiling the stories and secrets behind history's most fascinating jewels. First published in an American comic book in the early 70s, the saga of this out-of-this-world piece of jewelry is brought to the silver screen by the Marvel Studios in the Avengers movie series. It is quite simply one of the biggest commercial successes of all time, which comes as no surprise when you know the story behind the object that inspired the Infinity Gauntlet. April 22nd, 2019. Day 1 at the Los Angeles Convention Center. There are 2,000 seats, more than in Hollywood's largest movie theaters. The public is eagerly waiting outside. Fans have been waiting for the sequel to Avengers: Infinity War to come out for months. Mixed into the crowd, people dressed as Captain America are playing cards. Others as Iron Man are reading the paper. Everyone is on the lookout for the stars to appear. In the middle of a group, a little boy with his skin painted purple has been patiently waiting for hours to see the movie. For the occasion, he's dressed up as Thanos, the most terrifying villain of them all. He's wearing the oddest contraption over his left hand, which he regularly holds in front of his face in an attack stance. It's a gold metal gauntlet covered with plastic rhinestones. In the movie, Thanos turned the Infinity Gauntlet into an instrument of power and a weapon of mass destruction. The boy looks about 10, and for him, the gauntlet is most of all quite cumbersome.
For a very, very long time, gemstones, like diamonds, were not so much the symbol of power, they were actual power.
Léonard Pouy, professor of art history and content and transmission manager at L'École School of Jewelry Arts.
For a simple reason, nothing can scratch a diamond except a diamond. It's the hardest material we can find on Earth. And so this is the reason why you will find it on scepters, on crowns of kings and emperors throughout civilization and throughout history, so that kings could appropriate the true power of the stone. It's also a tool to reign. It's a tool to govern. A king will have different gemstones, and especially diamonds, that he will be able to pawn so that he can finance wars, pay soldiers, win the wars, gain new stones, and like this, have the longest reign possible. What is fascinating with gemstones through history is that, of course, gemology has not always existed. And for a very, very long time, men try to find a kind of logic. So they will always try to combine gemstones to associate their power, to associate also their different forces. One of the first organization known is actually from the Old Testament, the famous spectral of the Greek priest of Israel. It's from the Exodus book, where we find an actual jewel piece, quite a large one, containing 12 gemstones, each associated with one number and with one prophet.
The boy sits down on a fold-up seat that his grandmother hands over to him. She's come with him and asks what all these stones on his gauntlet are about. He turns around surprised and replies, "The blue one right here is to manipulate space as you like. The yellow one is the Mind Stone. With it, you can control people's minds. The Soul Stone is the orange one, and it gives mystical powers to its owner. You can distort reality with the red stone. The green one is for controlling time. But the most mysterious stone is the purple one. It's the Power Stone. It makes you indestructible. You can use the power of the stone to shoot powerful blasts or to blow up any material you want. They're called Infinity Stones. My character's on a quest to collect them and put them on this gauntlet. My gauntlet has them all, so that gives me a power of destruction beyond your imagination. At the end of the last movie, Thanos destroyed half of humanity by snapping his fingers, just like that.
In medieval times, the true symbolism of gemstone will mainly come from their colors. We have white or yellow for the diamond, red for the ruby, green for the emerald, and blue for the sapphire. And so because of their color, they will each have different meaning, different symbolism, different association to them. It's also an idea we find in ancient India ever since the Mughal times and even probably before, so the late Renaissance for Indian subcontinent, where we find the tradition of the Navaratna jewel. Navaratna means actually the jewel of 9 gems, and we will always find 9 colors, given that each color will be associated with one different chakra.
Only 5 days after its release, the movie reaches its break-even point. Hundreds of thousands of moviegoers flock to theaters to see the tale of the gauntlet on screen. This is miraculous, thinks the little boy. All of this is due to the magic of the Infinity Gauntlet. Little did he know, at that very same time, an unusual video from the Archdiocese in Monterrey, Mexico, was being sent to the cell phones of many movie and comic fans, as well as to journalists, and the news it carries is most surprising. Pictures of Thanos' gauntlet appear in the video. The caption at the bottom of the screen says, "Could Thanos' gauntlet be Catholic?" Thanos wears a golden gauntlet featuring 6 stones with infinite powers. But this gauntlet and its stones bear a strong resemblance to the reliquary that contains Saint Teresa d'Avila's unspoiled hand on display in Ronda, Spain. The boy cannot believe his ears. He immediately suspects a hoax, but after a double check, he has no other choice but to believe the unbelievable. On the Ronda Convent's website, he discovers pictures of Teresa d'Avila's hand, which looks like a perfect replica of his superhero toy, except that it is made out of gilded silver and covered with genuine precious stones, and that it dates back from the late 16th century. The stones are even laid out in similar fashion.
Relics are very important for Christian culture because Christians have a strong relationship with death, actually, and with the dead. There is a geographic proximity between the church, the cemeteries, and villages. In Europe, you want to be buried next to the church because it is in the church where are buried the saints, the priests, etc. And relics are kind of the same idea. We want to protect a certain proximity between elements of bones, of hair, of clothes. Among the many well-known relics that can be found in Europe, one of the most popular one in Spain is the holy hand of Saint Teresa of Avila, which is still, until today, quite symbolical of Catholic Spain.
Surfing on the momentum generated by the Marvel movie, the video establishing a resemblance between Thanos' gauntlet and the holy relic goes viral. All the journalists are quick to comment on it. Did the Marvel creators consciously give evil Thanos a divine hand? Were they really inspired? The question remains unanswered. However, what we know for certain is that Saint Teresa d'Avila's body was unearthed after her death in 1582. It looked intact, which for the Catholics attested to her sainthood. Her body then became a relic coveted by several convents. Several reliquaries were made, one of which containing her left hand on display in Ronda, where it was said it worked many miracles. However, Saint Teresa's hand wasn't always at the Ronda convent. The turmoil caused by the Spanish Civil War forced it to travel, and a man who fell under the silver gauntlet's charm set out to seize and hoard its power. In Enraptured by this relic, General Franco managed to have it kept in his home's chapel at the El Prado Royal Palace. For nearly half a century, he would sleep near St. Teresa's hand, and he would never go anywhere without it. He would even take it on his travels. When Franco died in 1975, the hand returned to its home at the Ronda Convent, where the faithful come to admire it.
For the believers, for the Christians, relics have actual powers. They can heal you, and through their contact, through the touch, maybe you will heal of diseases, of paralysis. Let's say your hand is paralyzed, you will need to go to see the hand of Saint Teresa of Avila if you want to heal, if you want to be better. So there is a kind of a magical power of relics beyond their power of fascination, which goes actually, which make miracles, which are so important in Christian culture. And in a way, we have jewels that can do the good, but we also have jewels that can do the bad, which can cause a disaster. And here we find our true fascination for Thanos, which is not the typical supervillain. Even though he kills half of the humanity, in a way, we kind of understand his purpose. There is a certain logic to his madness.
Pressed for a reaction, the Marvel Studios will not comment on the issue. The producer entertains the mystery. Such a rumor was harmless. $1 billion, then 2, then 2.5 billion. This is one colossal blockbuster. Thanks to Thanos' quest, everyone is now aware of the existence of these all-powerful gems. So much so that it led to a new idea. At a press conference in 2022, the studio announced the return of the gauntlet, destroyed at the end of the final episode. Thus, the Infinity Collection of Gemstones was born, a very limited edition of the Infinity Gauntlet for very wealthy fans. The worth of the 6 precious stones mounted on the precious metal gauntlet is estimated at $25 million. If St. Teresa's relic might have inspired Thanos, it would seem Thanos inspired a jewel as well. It is one of the most prominent pieces of jewelry derived from a comic. Who knows what kind of powers it grants its owners with? Voice of Jewels, a podcast from L'École School of Jewelry Arts, supported by Cleef Arpels. Written by Martin Quenehen and Aram Kebabdjian. Performed by Edoardo Ballerini and produced by Bababam. With the participation of Léonard Pouy, Professor of Art History and Content and Transmission Manager at L'École School of Jewelry Arts.